Hey everybody, hope you're doing all right. I really enjoyed reading the revised prospectuses. Your projects sound fantastic. I'm super excited to see where things go, and I'm looking forward to reading further drafts and helping you as I can with the projects. As you saw from an email I sent last night, the annotated bibliographies, both of them, the preliminary one and the secondary one, are now optional. Now, there are a few reasons why I did this, and I thought I'd talk through some of them, not just so you get a sense of why I did it, but I think also so you can get a sense of how to approach the use of secondary sources going forward. Now, just to clarify my terms here, the primary source is the main thing that you're analyzing, whether it's a text, a film, a performance, or something else. That's primary, right? That's the center of what you're doing. The secondary materials are anything else that you use in order to make your argument about the primary text. Now, some of you, I think, based on what I've been reading, are writing a project that is really just going to be your primary text and one or maybe two theoretical sources. Those are secondary those are one way of thinking about secondary sources. And that's completely fine. That's one of the things that this assignment encourages you to do. And if that's the case, you don't really need to do an annotated bibliography because you have so few sources in that regard. Other projects, other types of projects, based on what I've been reading, will want to use multiple secondary sources beyond just the theoretical work that you're using. And those sources are helpful for making points. So for instance, if you are trying to make an argument, and I'm thinking about one piece in particular here that is about ballet, and you need to make a statement about what the conventions were or how audiences were approaching it, you'll probably want to use a source that makes that claim and that makes it such that you don't have to make that argument. A lot of times that we use secondary sources, it's so that we can draw upon the expertise of others and quickly and convincingly use their argument to make a point. It's a point that we want to make, but it would take us a lot longer, or we don't necessarily have the authority ourselves to make that point. So if you do use scholarship, whether it's historical scholarship, critical scholarship in terms of criticism, like trying to make sense of things, not just criticism in terms of being negative, or theoretical scholarship, and it would be helpful to write annotations, I encourage you to do so. I use annotations in my own scholarship. I find it very helpful to summarize in my own words and then articulate in a second paragraph how it's going to help me with my project. So even though it's not required, I very much encourage you to write annotations on the secondary sources that you are using. If you do, and you think it might be helpful to get some feedback on those annotations, please send them to me. I'd be more than happy to do it. Again, even though the annotations are no longer required, they are still recommended. And if you just want to talk through about whether or not it would be helpful for your project to use annotations and to construct an annotated bibliography, then please reach out to me. I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. Another reason why I am making this assignment now optional is that our library, along with libraries around the country, is no longer doing physical copies of annotated, physical copies through interlibrary loan. You can still use interlibrary loan for digital copies. If there's an article in a journal that our library doesn't have in its own collections, you can request it and get it through interlibrary loan. Same thing goes with chapters in ebooks. But even this digital version of ILL, of interlibrary loan, is going to take longer than it would under normal circumstances. And so that's an additional burden to doing an annotated bibliography, and I didn't want anyone to feel extra stressed because of that. Finally, and perhaps most importantly for our next steps in going forward with these projects, is that I think that you are all at a point in your projects when it's time to do analytical work. It's not actually, I don't think, in your best interest to read a bunch of scholarship about what other people are saying about your topic or about your primary text or about your concern and let those ideas get in the way of developing your own thinking. This is now, I think, the best time to start that analytical work of your primary source. And in so doing, start to do your own theorizing, which is what this assignment is calling for. It's a time to make claims about not just the primary text, but about the ideas, the concepts, the themes, the issues that your primary text addresses and that you are interested in for a variety of reasons. Now, what this looks like in terms of practical steps, what you can do going forward is, and this is not to say that this is what you have to do, this is just a suggestion, but what I would encourage you to do is to identify elements that you want to address. These could be passages, these could be examples, these could be moments, whether it's moments in a film or a TV show or a performance. One of you is writing about Twitter, so these can be the tweets that you want to look at. And what I would encourage you to do after you've identified what you want to look at is to start your analysis of these examples, but to do so individually. Rather than trying to say, I'm going to analyze all 5 of these at once, take them one at a time. And please, in doing so, treat them distinctly. They might be examples that all are part of the same primary source, and by extension have a lot in common with each other, but they also are distinct. There is something unique about each of them. If you can use the analytical process to figure out what is unique about them, you will then be able to build a much more effective argument. And so what I mean by that is, on the one hand, doing analytical work about each of them. What that means is essentially asking yourself, what does this example say about X, whatever your topic is that you're looking at? What does this say about X, and how does it go about saying it? So how does this tweet, how does this movement in a performance, how does this lyric, how does this scene in a TV show, whatever it is that you're looking at, how does it address this issue that I am interested in? Well, it does so through this word or this movement or this prop, right? And building a unique sense of what that example is doing will be really helpful. Then once you've done so, and you have, let's say, those 5 examples with your conclusions about them, these are lists or columns, not that they have to look like this. But then you can look at all of them and then start to synthesize those points, weave them together. And in so doing, you are building your overall argument. In other words, it comes out of the microscopic, it comes out of what you find when looking at each individual example. And once you have that data and you've done that work, then you can take a step back and say, okay, this is what this TV show is really doing when they're talking about X, or this is what this performance is doing when it addresses Y. If you try to answer that question and build that argument before you do that analytical work, I think a lot of times your argument is going to be superficial. Whereas if you build it through your analysis, it is most often very nuanced, complex, and importantly, suited to theoretical thinking. So this week, my suggestion is to identify those passages and do your analysis. If you can knock it out all, sorry, I don't know what phrases I'm looking for here. If you can do it all this week, I think that'd be really good. You'll be in good shape. If you can't, please don't worry about it. But what I would encourage you to do is to start your analytical work and let me know if you want to talk about it. Please sign up via Calendly. I'd be happy to chat with you at any point. And 2, in addition to talking with me or instead of talking with me, send me what you have. This can be, you don't need to wait till a rough draft is finished before sending me stuff. This can be a paragraph. This can even be some notes or annotations. But please be in touch with me as you do this work. Not to say that I'm gonna tell you, like, what you're doing, is on track or not, but because engaging in dialogue, I think, is really helpful for this sort of work. So please let me know how you're doing with this, how I can help with this. If you just wanna chat about any of this, let me know. And please take care of yourself physically, mentally, take care of each other, the people who are in your life who are important, and please ask them to take care of you too. So that's it for now. I'll be back with more next week. I'll look forward to talking with you as it's helpful and reading your stuff as you send it to me. And thanks again for your great proposals. I'll reiterate my earlier point about how you're doing really good work, and I'm excited to see how it all develops.